Most people think debt is the enemy, something to fear, something to avoid at all costs. But the wealthiest people on the planet, they see it completely differently. To them, debt isn't a trap, it's a tool. Used the right way, borrowed money can actually make you richer. Sounds crazy, right? Let me show you exactly how it works. Meet Tom. Tom hates debt. Every dollar he borrows feels like a heavy chain. And honestly, for the way most people use it, he's not wrong. But the rich don't borrow to spend. They borrow to build. By the end of this video, you'll see debt in a whole new light. 6 strategies, 6 ways the wealthy turn borrowed money into more money. Stick around till the end because number 6 almost feels unfair. All right, let's dive in. First, we need one simple idea. There are 2 kinds of debt. Bad debt takes money out of your pocket. Think credit cards for a new TV or a car loan you can't really afford. Good debt does the opposite. It puts money in. Good debt buys things that pay you back, again and again. The rich don't avoid debt. They just refuse the bad kind. Here's the mindset shift. Stop asking, how much will this cost me? And start asking, how much will this make me? That single question changes everything. Because debt isn't good or bad. It depends entirely on what you do with it. So with that out of the way, let's get to the strategies. Strategy number 1, and it's the classic for a reason. Way number 1, using debt to buy real estate. This is the most common way ordinary people build serious wealth. Let's say a house costs $200,000. You don't need $200,000. You only put down $40,000. The bank covers the rest. $160,000 of borrowed money. Now, here's the magic. You control the entire house with only a fraction of your own money. And the best part? Someone else pays the loan for you. That someone is your tenant. Every month, they pay rent. Their rent covers the mortgage and often leaves a little extra, so your tenant slowly pays off your loan year after year. Meanwhile, the house itself keeps gaining value. 5 years later, that house is worth $260,000. You made $60,000 in growth on a $40,000 investment. That's the power of leverage. Small money, big asset. If you had paid all cash, your returns would be way smaller. This is exactly how real estate empires are built. 1 property, then 2, then 10. Each one funded mostly by the bank, paid off mostly by tenants. But careful. This only works if the rent covers the costs. If your property sits empty, you still owe the bank. So the rich run the numbers carefully before they ever buy. Done right, real estate debt is one of the safest ways to grow wealth. But owning property is just the beginning. Watch what comes next. Way number 2. The strategy the ultra-rich love most. It has a strange name. Buy, borrow, die. Don't worry, it's less dramatic than it sounds. Let me explain. Step 1. The rich buy assets. Stocks, businesses, real estate. These assets grow in value over time. That's the goal. Now, normally, if you wanted cash, you'd sell some of these assets. But selling triggers a big problem. Taxes. Every time you sell for a profit, the government takes a cut. So the wealthy found a clever way around it. Step 2. They borrow. Instead of selling their assets, they use them as collateral. The bank says, "Nice portfolio, here's a loan against it." Now they have cash to spend, without ever selling a thing. And here's the key. Borrowed money is not taxed. Loans aren't income, so there's nothing to tax. Meanwhile, their assets keep growing in the background, untouched. So they get cash today, while their wealth keeps compounding for tomorrow. They live off loans, pay tiny interest, and never sell a single share. But wait, doesn't all that borrowing pile up over the years? Here comes the final step. And yes, it's the one called die. When they pass away, their assets go to their heirs at a brand new value. The old loans get paid off from the estate, and much of the tax simply vanishes. It's so powerful that lawmakers are still arguing about it today, but it's perfectly legal. Way number 3, using debt to build and scale a business. This is where small money turns into a money-making machine. Imagine you want to open a small coffee shop. You'd need $50,000 to get started. Most people don't have that lying around. So instead of waiting years to save it, you borrow it. The bank gives you a business loan, and your shop opens its doors. Now, every cup of coffee you sell brings money in. Part of that money pays back the loan. The rest is your profit. The business pays for itself while it works for you every single day. And here's the beautiful part. You only invested a little of your own cash. Once the first shop is profitable, you do it again. One shop becomes two, two becomes five. That's how brands are born. This is exactly how the biggest franchises in the world expanded so fast. They didn't wait to save. They used smart debt to grow at full speed. But remember Tom? He's still nervous about all this, and that's fair. Business debt has real risk. If the business fails, you still owe every dollar you borrowed. That's why the rich never borrow on a hope. They borrow on a plan. They test the idea small first, then scale only what truly works. They keep a cash cushion just in case things get slow, and they make sure the income always covers the debt, with room to spare. Done this way, a single loan can launch a lifetime of income. It's not about avoiding risk, it's about controlling it. Now the next strategy is one the government practically rewards you for. Way number 4, using debt to legally pay less in taxes. This one feels almost too good to be true, but it's written right into the rules. Here's the idea. When you borrow money for a business or an investment, the interest you pay on that loan can often be deducted. Deducted means it lowers the income the government can tax you on. So in a way, the cost of borrowing gets partly refunded. Let's keep it simple. Say your business earns $100,000 and you paid $10,000 in loan interest this year. The government often lets you subtract that interest first, so now you're only taxed on $90,000, not the full 100. That difference saves you real money year after year. Now compare that to Tom, who paid cash for everything. Tom avoided debt completely, so he got zero of these benefits. He thought he was being safe, but he simply paid more than he had to. This is why the wealthy often prefer to borrow, even when they could pay cash. Their money stays invested and growing, while the debt quietly lowers their taxes. Of course, there's a line you cannot cross. These rules only apply to debt used for business or investing, not for personal spending. So the rich keep everything clean, organized, and well documented, and they always work with a good accountant. That's the real secret weapon. A smart accountant turns confusing tax rules into pure opportunity. All right, the next way is where debt starts beating something most people never even think about. Way number 5, letting inflation shrink your debt for you. This is the quiet trick almost nobody talks about. First, what is inflation? In simple words, money slowly loses value over time. What costs $1 today might cost $2 in 20 years. Most people see inflation as bad news, and for savers, it often is. But for borrowers, inflation can actually be a hidden gift. Here's why. Imagine you borrow $200,000 today. You'll pay that loan back slowly over many years, but the amount you owe stays the same. $200,000, locked in. Meanwhile, thanks to inflation, money keeps getting weaker. So years later, you're paying back that same loan, but with money that's worth a lot less. Your salary goes up, rents go up, prices go up, but your debt? It stays frozen. So every passing year, that fixed debt feels smaller and smaller. It's almost like inflation is quietly paying off part of your loan for you. This is huge when the loan is tied to a real asset, like a house. The house rises in value with inflation, while the debt stays exactly the same. That growing gap between asset and debt becomes your wealth. Of course, this only works with fixed, low-interest debt on something valuable. Risky, high-interest debt does the opposite. It grows faster than inflation ever could. So the rich borrow smart, lock in low rates, and let time quietly do the heavy lifting. And now, way number 6, the one I warned you about, the one that almost feels unfair. The rich call it the infinite money loop, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. It starts with everything you've already learned. So let's put it all together. Step 1. You buy an asset using mostly borrowed money. Let's say a rental property. Step 2. You improve it, and you let time and inflation push its value up. A few years later, the property is worth much more than what you owe. Now, step 3. Here's where the magic happens. You go back to the bank, you refinance, meaning you take out a brand new loan against the higher value. The bank hands you a big chunk of cash, and remember, borrowed money isn't taxed. You pull your original money back out while still owning the property. And the tenant? They keep paying down this new loan for you month after month. So now you take that same cash and buy another asset, and the loop begins again. One property funds the next funds another. Tax-free cash, over and over. That's why it feels unfair. The money keeps recycling while the assets keep stacking up. But hear me clearly, this loop is powerful in both directions. Done carelessly, it can bury you. Done wisely, it can set you free. So let's bring it all back together. 6 ways the rich turn debt into wealth. Real estate leverage. Buy, borrow, die. Building a business. Lowering taxes. Beating inflation. And the loop. Notice the pattern. Not one of them used debt to simply spend. Every single time, the borrowed money was put to work to build something that pays back. And remember Tom? He's not doomed. He just needed a new way of seeing things. Debt isn't the enemy. Used with a plan, it can be one of your greatest tools. So, next time you think about borrowing, don't just ask what it costs. Ask what it could build. If you like this video, subscribe to see more. I'll see you in the next one.